honored that Boyd would think of me to speak to you on this topic. I have never thought of what I do in these terms before, ever. I mean, the word care is something on the laundry detergent. I've never thought of that word in terms of what I do at KSL. So I had to think, what is it that I do that is care? And the first thought that came to my mind was not the word you'd think of. We are broadcasters, so what are we known for? We are known for speaking. But that is not the word that came to my mind. The word that came to my mind was, I listen. I listen. I listen when I'm interviewing. I have not decided what I'm going to ask you before the interview is complete. I am listening to you. And something you say will prompt the next question because I am listening to you. I have not decided what is important yet until you say what is important to you. Then I'll know what the next question is. I listen. There are so many different ways to listen now. Texting and Facebook and Twitter. That while I'm on the air, I'm getting all of this feedback. We didn't used to get that kind of feedback. I'm an old timer. In the beginning, people would send me letters. I would get off the air. I'd have time to have coffee and sit and read my mail. But now, as I'm on the air, I'm getting this constant feedback. And occasionally it's kind, but most of the time, people reach out to me in an angered state. And if I have the proper spirit, I will reply. The one that always comes to my mind is years ago when I had just come back to work after having my youngest son. I was in a hormonal state, and I was missing Aiden, and I was feeling nervous and awkward. I'd been gone for a couple of months, and here comes a text. And the text said, Amanda, I wish you would stay home and take care of your son and be a good mother. I liked the woman who was filling in for you so much more than I liked you. Why don't you do the right thing and stay home? The tears just started to come. I didn't want them to come. By the way, gentlemen, when a woman begins to cry in a professional setting, it is never our intention to do so, just so you know. So I started to cry. And I told my radio partner, you talk while I get it together. Finally, I got it together, and the show went on. And I felt moved to write back to him. I don't always, especially if I can't be polite. It is KSL's text line, not mine. So I wrote back and said, whatever it is that caused you to send me this text, there must be something profoundly sad going on in your life. I'm so sorry for whatever it is. I know it has nothing to do with me. I wish you well, send. He never wrote back. Sometimes that reply text will just be the beginning of a boxing match, and it wasn't a good idea. But at that particular time, he never replied back. I mention the story because fast forward 10 years. My son is 13 now. I'm giving a speech to a group of state employees up in Lakewood. And after the speech is over, I'm gathering my things out front and putting my coat on, and a man comes up to me and says, pardon me, do you remember receiving a not very kind text message some 10 years ago or so that criticized your performance after you got back from maternity leave and said you ought to stay home with your son? I said, you know, I do. That text, I do. It's one I probably won't forget. He said, that was me. And I would like you to forgive me for that. And he was getting choked up. I got choked up. He said, I was going through a divorce at the time. Nothing was right in my world. I just wanted to hit somebody. And you were available. I completely understood that. I would have hit me too. We had a moment. We both cried a little. I hugged him. I'm a hugger, as you know. And I thanked him. I said, I can't believe you'd be courageous enough to come to this event knowing I was the speaker and to come up and own that. Who owns that? I listened. Now, I know people reach out on Facebook and they often say cruel things. They're not themselves, or they text. But I listen. Sometimes it's for naught, but sometimes they need to express something. The words are not the content. I'm looking behind the words. What is the real message? I'm there every morning. I've been there every morning for 30 years. Sometimes they're the son of the person who was listening to me. They're sick of me. I understand. I listen. That's the beginning of the exceptional care. And the listening allows me to learn. If I don't listen, I can't learn. If I'm just talking all the time, I never learn. I think this is so true for leaders. If they're just talking all the time, they can't learn. They're not going to learn this from focus groups. Forgive me, but they're not. They're not going to learn this from focus groups. You have to listen to individuals. It's the individuals who will tell you their story. It's the individuals who will express their pain or their joy, and that's what you'll learn from. The individual stories. Years ago when I was in law school, my first semester of law school, I had a professor who was just out of the prosecutor's office in Washington, D.C. I mentioned him because I'm trying to impress you. He is now a judge in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. It's Scott Matheson. He was just teaching for the first time, and you could tell he was trying to do a good job. And I bring this up because he did something very few professors, very few people do. When a student would ask a question he didn't know the answer to, he would say, I don't know, but I'm going to investigate that and get back to you. Those three beautiful words, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm going to investigate and get back to you. How many people I know who are terrified of the words, I don't know. They'll do anything but say, I don't know. They'll hem-haw around. They'll pretend to know. They'll step in all kinds of mud without saying, I don't know. But here was this man who taught me it was okay to say, I don't know. So years later, when I was teaching media law at the University of Utah, students would ask me questions. Frequently, I didn't know. Because my law background was years before. And the cases I knew, but there had been cases since then. And there was so much social media I wasn't familiar with. And the law doesn't catch up very fast, as many of you know. So if they asked me something, I'd say, I don't know, hearing Scott Matheson in my brain. But I will investigate and get back to you. That upset my husband on many occasions because that night I'd be reading all night long. I'm investigating. I have to get back to the students. I'm investigating. I think some of the most powerful moments I hear on radio in any format are the beauty of not knowing and admitting that and opening yourself up to learning. It's like that wonderful phrase of, let's see if I can remember it. It's about, hold on, it's coming, Boyd. If you don't change your mind, why have one? It was worth the wait, wasn't it?
Yes.
If you don't change your mind, why have one? We are open to learning, but only if we listen. And this is part of giving exceptional care. We learn from our students, we learn from our clients, we learn from our employees, we learn from our superiors. But here's the big part for me. And I hesitate to even use this word because I know sometimes I use it in professional or business setting, and people will look down their nose or judge, but I think I am among friends, so I will risk using the word. The word is love. And I know that many people hear the word love and they immediately limit it to what I think is perhaps its least interesting form, which is its romantic form. I am not thinking of love in the romantic form. I am thinking of love in the humanity form. That why are we here if not to love each other? And I don't know how to listen or learn from another human being without love. So downstairs, when Doug asked me, what do you do in the morning? I'm not kidding when I say, I come to work with love and curiosity in my mind. Now, I don't go on the air every day and say, I love you, 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 I get fired. But in my heart, I feel love. And if I don't feel love, I'm not prepared. Just as much as if I didn't know the news. I feel strongly about this. Because you can learn your news from anything. You can go to Google and learn your news. You can go to Google and learn your traffic and weather together. The reason you come to KSL is because it feels good. On some level you can't quite define, something feels good. And I think that might just be love. Can I leave you with a happy story?
Sure.
A man came to see me yesterday, and when he came to see me yesterday, I thought, he came to see me so I could share this with my friends from UVU. This never happens, so this felt very unique. We were at ARUP doing a blood drive, and people will come and they'll donate blood and they'll want to say hello and shake your hand and chat for a minute. And a veteran came in and he wanted to talk about his experience in Iraq because he had had some personal experience with people who had laid explosives, Iranian explosives. He had very strong opinions about Soleimani. So he chatted for quite a long time, but I could see there was another man off to the side who had 2 boxes of candy. And so I looked over and I said, thank you so much for coming to donate. He said, I'll wait my turn. I said, oh. So the veteran kept talking. I didn't want to rush him. So when he was done and the veteran left, the man with the boxes of candy came over. He set 1 box of candy down in front of me and 1 down in front of him. And he was shaking a little bit. I could tell he was quite nervous. And he looked very intently in my eyes and said, before my wife died, listening to you two was the thing that made her happiest in the world. She was in so much pain. But she loved to wake up and hear the 2 of you. It just made her happy. And I've been trying to find a way to see you in person for years to say thank you. Because you brought her some measure of happiness during the worst time in her life and my life. So, and he had it written on a card. He kept referring back to the card. And I could tell it was, say thank you. I mean, it was written down. I'm getting emotional thinking of it. But that he had carried that I had been able to, somewhere in the middle of traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, the love had come through. It had got through. Without saying I love you. So the exceptional care was just in my heart and listening and being there. And I am so grateful to you, Boyd, for letting me have a minute to share that with you. I think all of you do that every day. May I just say one last thing, and that is for all of you and what you do for those students. I know many students who are there, friends of my sons, who are students at UVU, who are so grateful for their educations, being able to afford their educations, and the rich educations they're getting. You're doing a fantastic job. I am a convert, and I am a cheerleader of what you're doing. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And that is why everyone loves Amanda.